Government Order of the Day number 1.
National War Memorial Park, Pukeahu Empowering Bill, third reading.
The Honourable Christopher Finlandson.
Mr Speaker, I move that the National War Memorial Park, Pukeahu Empowering Bill be now read a third time, and I'm very pleased to have played my part in steering this legislation through the House, and I certainly acknowledge and appreciate the support that has been received from all parties, with the obvious exception of the Greens and the Mana Party. I am disappointed, but not surprised by their attitude. I think what they fail to appreciate is that since I became the Minister in 2008, a lot of work has gone into this project to ensure that the cut and cover option became a reality. And it's simply plainly wrong, as I think Holly Walker said in the committee stages, that the plans have been around for some years, and I think Mr Chauvel may have made a similar allegation in his rather peculiar contribution in the first reading debate. They're both plain wrong. The 2008 plans provided for State Highway 1 to go through the park. I was first alerted to that by Deputy Mayor Ian McKinnon in 2008 and spoke to Mount Cook School and said I thought that was really most unfortunate, and I've worked since then to see if we could get this result, and we have, and we've had the bill. The bill was introduced, it was referred to the Transport and Industrial Relations Committee on 28 August, and that committee worked very hard, and I salute their chair and the members because they reported it back to the House on 18 September. And I also want to acknowledge the contributions from the submitters and the officials from both NZTA and my ministry who have worked very hard on this matter. So this legislation is required to complete the memorial in time for the centenary of the Gallipoli landings, and this very speedy progression will enable government agencies to start work in October on what will be New Zealand's major legacy project for the First World War commemorations, this wonderful park, Pukeahu. It's the centrepiece of the government's program of projects and activities to mark the centenary over the 2014-2018 period. The Joint Agency World War 100 Programme Office in the Ministry for Culture and Heritage is going to lead and facilitate commemorative activities in accordance with other organisations of the Crown like NZDF, the Department of Internal Affairs, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade and others, and a panel of trusted New Zealanders is going to be guiding and informing these activities. And during this period, the War Memorial is very much going to be a focus of the First World War commemorations, but also increasingly for a number of significant 70th anniversaries of the Second World War, as well as time progresses for anniversaries for both Vietnam and Korean wars. And this bill is going to ensure that we have a park that provides a more appropriate setting for these very important commemorative activities. So what the bill does is grants resource consents, heritage authorisations, building consents, and provides for the designation of the land and powers of entry onto the land. It grants rights to the Ministry of Culture and Heritage and NZTA to complete the undergrounding of State Highway 1 and the Memorial Park in time for the centenary of the Gallipoli landings in April 2015. In doing so, what it's going to do is remove the standard objection and appeal rights available under the Resource Management Act 1991, the Historic Places Act 1993, and the Public Works Act 1981, but I emphasise that rights to compensation under that latter act are going to be preserved. And should the need also arise, the bill will enable the Governor-General to issue orders in council to grant further consents than those covered in the schedules to the bill, but it's extremely important to note that there are safeguards to provide oversight of these orders in council, and a review panel is going to be convened to scrutinise recommendations for those orders in council, and that will report to the Minister at 6 monthly intervals, and the Minister will provide a copy of that report to the House. Parliament's also going to have the power to disallow an order in council within 12 sitting days after the day on which it was presented to the House. And so what's happened here is that every step has been taken to ensure the focus and the purpose of the bill is tightly defined to avoid any risk that powers may be used for anything other than the intended national purpose. The bill also ensures continuing input from important stakeholders like Mount Cook School, the Wellington City Council, the Wellington 10th Trust and the Port Nicholson Block Claims Settlement Trust, and other organisations representing local residents and road users. So, sir, like many public memorials, the development of this National War Memorial has proceeded in fits and starts. In the 1920s, there was a debate over what form it should take. There was some talk that there could even be a memorial parade or a new cathedral. And then a Wellington jeweller, Mr. Denton, suggested the carillon with bells of remembrance, and that was the idea that was enthusiastically embraced by the community. And a Memorial Carillon Society raised the money for a 49-bell carillon and presented the funds to the government. And the government then made its contribution towards the construction of the bell tower to house the carillon. Mr. Speaker, Gummer and Ford were two persons who won the design competition for the bell tower and the new National Museum behind it. Gummer was renowned for his work on memorials. I think he was responsible for the Massey Memorial on Watts Peninsula and the Bridge of Remembrance in Christchurch. And so it was in 1932 that the public flocked to this new memorial. At last, New Zealanders had a surrogate tomb for the thousands who had sadly died overseas in service of their country. Now, the next stage was supposed to be an adjoining Hall of Memories, but its construction was cut short because of the Depression and then the Second World War, and indeed it was to be 32 years before that building was finally opened in 1964. In 2004, Kingsley Baird's Tomb of the Unknown Warrior was added to the complex, and the remains of an unnamed soldier from Caterpillar Valley Cemetery near Longvale were interred in the tomb. And I say, we'll give the House that history because it's important to recognise that this has been a developing project, but with this development we will be able to say that we finally have a complete memorial to those who have served this country so well. With the completion of the project, the impressive architecture of the memorial is going to be complemented by a park of equivalent substance and design. And the National War Memorial and the various elements of the precinct will be unified. It's going to be a place of quiet reflection where people can congregate for important national commemorations, and our allies will also be honoured with their own memorials. And I emphasise there's also going to be an interpretation centre where young New Zealanders who attend Anzac Day commemorations will be able to learn more about the tumultuous events which have left their mark on this country, and so too visitors to Wellington from around the country and overseas will be drawn to the memorial. In the future, I believe the precinct is most likely to be included in the government's proposed National Historic Landmark list of places which are significant national treasures to New Zealand. And last but not least, the traffic noise is going to be greatly reduced because this tunnelling is to take place. So, Mr. Speaker, everyone is delighted that this is going to proceed. To have had State Highway 1 traversing a sacred memorial, frankly, would have been inappropriate and indeed disrespectful. There's keen interest in the development. I'm looking forward to attending community meetings to talk to people about it. I'm very keen to keep in touch with people. I think this is going to be a memorial of which we are going to be very proud indeed.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Grant Robertson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and it's a pleasure to rise and speak in